Personally, I think Elon has been very lucky. He's been very lucky because of Trump. This is someone who, before Trump, was basically the butt of a lot of investors. That's why they were shorting him. But when you look at Bezos and what Bezos has done, I don't know anybody else in the history of this our generation.
The thing with valuations is equity valuations. It could go up, it could go down.
Yeah.
So today they're calling this price, but in a year it could completely be buff.
Yeah.
And it could skyrocket beyond that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
It would need to really justify the baselines for the numbers to keep going up.
And AI guys are now using equity IPOs for capex. And if you look at the shares outstanding during the dot-com bubble to now, we're actually quite low compared to dot-com bubble.
But these AI companies ain't listed yet.
Exactly, until the money for equity, right, IPOs slows down. We're not going to see a slowdown in AI.
In my mind, the way I see, and this is, I might be wrong, I feel AI could work the way electricity works. Not the way electricity powers everything that we do, but electricity is not the thing itself that makes those things work. It's just what makes sure that they do what they do. I feel that businesses and companies in the future will run on AI in the same way electricity just powers things.
This young population story that we have has some sort of negative connotation to it, in the sense that we have a young population, but population is young but is not able to work. There's a family, a father and a mother, right, and young kids. The father and mother are the only ones working, the kids are not working. So all the burden relies on the father and mother for money. So national savings, it's harder for mom and dad to save, because every penny mom and dad make goes into spending on the kids, right? But if the kids are at the age where they can work, they cannot contribute to the household. Right? So, does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
There's never been a time in Nigeria's history where opportunities outside regular paid employment have been available to young people like it is today.
But some would also argue with you that, well, there's a lot of child labor here, which is bad, but that's why there are a lot of people younger than 17 that are actually working. Yeah, but they're working. Seriously, honestly, globally it might not acceptable globally, but these same families you're seeing, they are the ones who are probably failing. Hello everyone, welcome to Drinks and Mics, brought to you by Nairametrics in partnership with Lidrop, Manilas, and Swan Water. We do this every Friday, 6 p.m. We go live on Nairametrics TV YouTube channel. And of course, you can watch anytime you like, anywhere. Just several episodes that you can always go back to as well. It's going to be another exciting episode. We got your feedback last week from the youth edition. We got it. I was very happy that you guys really gave it up to Tunji. I mean, I always complain.
Give it up to Tunji.
He's the noisemaker in the house. So you guys tell him it's one. Because you can hear the laughter. Arnold and I, we're gentlemen. We don't like to make too much noise. We're just very calm.
Yeah, thank you.
We take it easy. But Tunji just brings out a lot of stuff out of us. So when we make it...
Wow. It's a studio song.
So you guys... And he's the youngest of all, so he's a youth. Anyway, just kidding. It was
young man.
It was great. We really enjoyed last day. I mean, it was fun sitting back and just watching.
Yeah.
A lot of brilliant guys. My God, I was so impressed with the entire delivery. If you haven't seen it, by the way, you want to go watch it. It was just the episode before this one, and we had 5, youths, and they weren't lazy at all. These were very smart guys, and teaching us a lot of stuff that we probably didn't even know. So They dealt with a lot of topical issues that resonated with every single one of us. Of course, we've got the Israel gang in the house by now. You know already, Tunji is in the house, and we've got Arnold Dublin Green, and we've got a female guest today, and you know what that means for us in the house. Rest but she's, man. So I'm going to let Kemi introduce herself, as we usually do, and then we'll take it right up.
My name is Kemi Olajide. I'm a principal at Africa Climate Ventures. We're focused on starting, scaling, and transforming what we consider to be climate-positive businesses on the continent.
Ooh, nice.
Funny enough, I was having a conversation with someone today about carbon credits Does that fall under what you're doing? So they're trying to get more. So carbon credits has been historically more oil and gas guys.
Exactly.
And now there's a push to get the rest of the other industries to start looking at.
So can somebody explain what those carbon credits mean?
Because another way to chop.
No. I saw a business. There's a Ghanaian business that I think they're into deliveries and just basic logistics, but last mile, like bikes and things like that. And they said, they did an announcement that, you can now, I think you can cash out, or there's something about, you can now, something about the carbon credits from there.
Yeah.
I didn't get it, but for me, I was like,
do a better job. So from my understanding, it's when your business is running.
Even as the person I understand it to explain.
I think in layman terms, just think about it this way.
Yeah.
Let's use a very simple example. British Airways, they're flying planes and they're emitting all sorts of gas and lots of pollution. And there's a company somewhere in Africa or anywhere else in the world that is essentially helping to remove carbon from the atmosphere. Exactly. So cleaning up your mess, in essence. And so you're crediting that company. And so that's really how it works in plain terms. But of course,
so as you're taking out the carbon,
in plain terms. But there's obviously levels to it. We have it operating at the bilateral level, which is governments to government, whether it's the Swiss to the Kenyan government, but we also have it operating companies to companies on the private level or the
what's very interesting is there's also the trading side of it where people trade carbon credits.
Just like the stock.
So I think this company said they now can issue carbon credits. So I was like,
issuing carbon isn't that just basically what you're paying? So we can all issue carbon credits.
If you're emitting.
So let's talk about the economics of it though. So your British Airways or your Lafarge or whatever, and you are into manufacturing, and so you're emitting gas. So you don't have carbon credits, do you?
No, so what you have is essentially you're mandated in some ways, depending on the sector that you operate in, to clean up your mess, right? And clean up your mess means you are paying somebody else for the credits that they've generated from taking the carbon, the CO2 out of the atmosphere. So we have companies that are actively, so maybe let me bring it home a bit. We are invested in a company that is called Safi Organics. And what this company does is essentially converting waste, agricultural waste. In this case, they use biogas, which is a waste from sugarcane, convert that into biochar, blend that with some additives, and they have what we know as fertilizer. And that fertilizer is helping to improve yields for farmers by more than 30% and is also selling at less than the price of synthetics. And this is happening in East Africa, and you're about to see that happen again in Nigeria, right? And so that company, in the process of doing that, they're obviously cleaning up for the likes of a British Airways, taking carbon out of the atmosphere, removing. And so then you can have a company like British Airways or related or Microsoft, those who are emitting heavily, then pay them for the work that they're doing to remove as a product or as a byproduct of their own operations. So how do they get to the stage where they get to pay? Who do they know who to pay? There are standard bodies that govern this. You have Period.Edge, you have Rainbow, there are a few certification bodies, and that's where the process about verifying and ensuring that your methodologies are, following a particular process is, comes into the play of it. That part, the MRV process of it is really, really critical in determining whether you get that credit or not. But there's a whole body that governs it. There are lots of middle parties in between that transaction.
So if I may, is there a relationship with the idea? I can't remember, there was a West African country president that talked about planting trees. There's a relationship. I think he said if you build something, you start to plant a tree or something. It's planting a tree in the sense of giving back to the carbon emissions or something.
Planting trees is helping to improve the ecosystem, the mangroves and all of that.
So is that a cheaper way for one to issue carbon credits? So, when you build a property, you plant a tree and then it'll be a company.
There's a process there, but it's also... Again, with the carbon credits, there are different prices. Some are quite high. So we have companies that are operating in the enhanced rock weathering space. And in what I've just talked about, biochar, those credits are commanding as high as $100 to $150 per ton of carbon that is removed from the atmosphere. But you also have those like planting trees, which will come much lower. And clean cooking, clean cooking, if it's between bilateral, so government to government or at the COSIA market, what you might see is something around maybe 30 upwards, right? $35. But if you're doing it on the trading market, then it's somewhere between 4 and maybe 15. So there are different levels at which this happens. And so for planting trees, it would fall under the lower grade of it.
Is there space for carbon?
Thank you for educating us.
Is there space and room for carbon credit trading in Nigeria specifically?
I think this government is very
market, we have a bond market. Is there a space for carbon credit markets?
We'll get there. This government is very pro-climate, and you see them actually trying to do a lot of these things already. The education in around it is one thing. And, the fact that just talking about it more for citizens to actually know that these platforms exist is another thing. But what we're seeing is with the government itself, there are different groups that are focused on climate that are already working, with some of these global certifying agencies to actually develop some of these frameworks. But we're not yet seeing that translate into companies or actually using that yet. So I think we'll get there. We're still very early in the journey. But interestingly, there's a company called SMART that has actually built out has built out an MRV platform that essentially the goal of that
MRV platform.
It's essentially the platform for allowing for measurement and verification of credit. That would allow or open up its API to other. He's doing it for himself right now, the company. But what they will do essentially is open up that API to allow other companies that feel like whether it's a solar company or related, that feel like in the process of their work, they're also helping to mitigate or avoid or remove carbon from the atmosphere. They will allow them to list through their platform to qualify. But
right now, is there an opportunity for an investor to have some sort of investment in any carbon emission or carbon credits of any company right now in Nigeria? So if an oil and gas company has issued carbon credits, can an outside investor now focus on just investing in those credits?
Yes. I think we'll see that coming as the markets mature. I would say that we're not there yet, but we're seeing something like this in East Africa already.
Really?
Where there's clean cooking companies that are in the process of getting their letters of authorization from the government. And what that means is that they can actually get loans on the back of that letter of authorization, because it means that if it's coming from, say, a government that is quite solid, maybe a European government, they would not default on that and they would honor it. And so that's almost a guarantee of some sort, almost making it risk-free. So we'll see the market shape out in that.
We're going to talk a bit more about it later. We'll talk about energy. We'll talk about energy and the climate and all that stuff. By the way, talking about credit, I want to say big thanks to you and your husband for this. By the way,
thank you.
First guest that has given us what we like to drink. All right. So thank you so much. Shout out to him. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, you don't mind if we drink it, do you?
No, please go for it. Have a taste, serve or enjoy.
We'll drink this. Let's try this today. Sorry, guys. It's what we do at Drinks and Mics. All right, so we're going to talk a bit more about, because there's a lot of debate around climate change and energy security in Nigeria and Africa in general. We'll get to that at some point, but let's start first with the war. I know I didn't want us to really talk about the Iran war, but something happened today. I think there was gist that maybe Iran state media reported that they were already close to an agreement, and then the US said, White House came out and denied it flatly. Of course, oil price dropped below $100, but it's likely going to go back up. So just curious to know from you guys, are they really going to reach some sort of agreement?
It's only a matter of time.
Everything is always a matter of time, but I mean,
I say in the long run we're dead.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't always like that in a matter of time.
So I'm just curious, Tunji, what are you pouring into the secretly pouring? I've noticed.
I pause. How can you pour? The insult in pouring rubbish inside a 22 years.
I apologize, please, to you and your husband. I apologize.
He has to replace it. Where I'm from, when you disrespect the drink, you replace it.
So first of all,
He will replace it.
Yes.
I mean, tell us in the comments section. Should he replace it or not?
We're good for it.
Let us know.
We're good for it. We're good for it. We're
Kilo
good for
day.
it.
Where's our ice, please?
I was going. I've been trying
know,
to like.
I should take this
sit
without
down.
ice.
Like, please,
What's going on with the ice?
where's the ice bucket? There's
Anyway, so let's hear from you guys. What do you think? Wine, red, white,
Right.
white. All right.
shout out to the guys I met in Mauritius, by the way, who are fans of drinks and mics.
This will do.
Oh
my glass, please. I'm struggling.
No.
Oh, sorry, but I think you deserve a better.
I do if you have.
That's
Or a disposable cup
No, we can't. No.
for the culture.
I'm dying.
Do it. It's fine.
I mind, but it's okay.
Oh my God.
It tastes very different.
It's very different. Oh my God.
Your
Conversation's
opinion
gonna go crazy.
at all.
How dare you, Trey?
All right. While we wait for the ask, let's go on.
Okay.
So, are you optimistic that we're going to get a deal by end of June? Because I kind of feel like yes, May is almost over.
By end of
You think it's imminent?
I think it's
So
imminent.
yeah, so I don't think we get a deal, and this is I'm being very selfish. I'm being very, very
So
selfish.
you
because,
wanted to continue?
yeah, because I've now after
You've
my
now figured it
hectic
out.
March, after my March crazy market prices and everything was going crazy, I spent countless weeks trying to understand how to position my portfolio in this.
And now you found the
Now
formula.
I've figured it out. Right, I understand that we're in this proper cost of increased cost of capital macro environments, right? And I see where it's going. I see how it's going, and the war is working in that favor. Is really pushing in that story.
So you don't want us to go back to reset so that you.
Yeah, let's
you miss out your
close
miss
the
out
year
alpha
positive,
now.
and then we can figure out what 2027 has to offer. So
Arnold has this. Arnold claims to be a socialist sometimes, but he's a capitalist.
I've built
Too deep.
So it's not just a cap.
To be honest, I almost understand where you're coming
Thank
from.
you.
Let me just give
Thank you. I
an
appreciate
example.
it. Thank you.
As much as we need peace to reign and we all want it to end, and it should, because there are companies there are countries that are really suffering.
Of course, and people. Yes.
A farmer somewhere in the US will be fine. They'll get fertilizers and some of the side effects which are happening from the closing of Strait of Hormuz. But what you see is in Africa, some of those farmers are not going to be able to afford fertilizers at the prices that we're currently seeing it, for example.
Yeah.
But then it does create opportunity for innovation at the local level.
Yes.
We just talked about converting organic waste into fertilizer and that being better than synthetic.
Yeah.
That's now happening on a much larger scale.
Yeah.
And it's creating real opportunities for some of those companies.
100%.
So if you're vested in those companies, you're almost selfish to say,
Yeah, because you've now positioned
can we
yourself
wait
to say,
a little longer? Let's just...
So you guys saying that this is like a disruptive moment
It is. It's huge
for the energy industry.
With every chaos, there is opportunities for growth, and I think we're seeing that, with some companies and some kind of products. But obviously, we want peace to reign because for the greater good.
For the greater
of
good.
course.
For the greater good. But I have noticed that about Arnold. He sounds like a socialist until it concerns personal.
Do you know that
interests.
I've never labeled myself a socialist or capitalist? You guys try to box me in.
No. I think sometimes you're trying to sound egalitarian and drinks the mind like, I'm for the people.
Tunji is mad.
Tunji naturally gravitates. Tunji always goes back to his past. I don't know why he doesn't believe that. It's almost like you never talks about it's always like you can take the ghetto, you can take him out of the ghetto, but you can take him get out of Tunji likes to give us that vibe, like I'm for the people. But we all know better. But yours is different. You are a capitalist to the core.
You think so?
Yeah.
You are. Like everything you do. You live a capitalist life. Like it's very
almost
I'm going to move my chair a little bit because
That's why Arnold told me that he wanted.
I believe in impact and returns at the same time.
I want to go kayaking. I want to start doing that.
But he went this way.
He tried jogging, eating work.
I still jog.
He tried golfing, eating work.
Now,
What's next?
No, but I still jog. I still golf. It's just I needed something on a Saturday mornings.
You need a rush.
Right. Yeah, but I needed something water related as well because I'm a rivers boy now. So the water is.
Go jump inside.
So and I see the 5 calorie creek every day.
Yeah.
Right. So at some point you're like,
Let's try it.
Let's try it.
Yeah. And then the closest thing is kayak.
All right, guys. Talking about trying something. SpaceX IPO imminent.
Fun time.
Valuation between 1.7 to 2. What is it that Musk said recently in terms of valuation is looking at?
Yeah, was it 175? Was it 175?
Yeah, so someone saying between 175 and 2 trillion.
It's a
Yeah.
range.
That
It was
largest.
1.25 last week.
Yeah.
And then he
Now
flipped the
it's
script.
sort of gone up again.
And then there's a 1 year lockup.
And I mean, companies doing $18 billion have but gap loss $4.94 billion. SpaceX as well doing $4 billion or so in EBITDA. Said the claims EBITDA positive, but lost $6 billion. So I'm just wondering, the way we're taught valuation, was it like,
No. This is not.
So I think
was it a fraud? Like the way we're taught, like because everything seems to be like upside down now.
Yeah.
This is frontier regions. It's not like hard, looking at revenue, EBITDA. This is frontier because, for instance, the issues like colonize Mars, get us to the moon, those kind of things. The upsides are limitless if it works. If it works, right? It might not work, but if it works, the upsides are limitless. There's tourism, there's recolonization, there's movement, there's resettlement.
But I think this is more about his AI business than it is about his rocket launch business. Yeah, SpaceX is like
the weight of the valuation is actually coming from
so
the
SpaceX
AI
is three businesses, right? There's a Starlink, which is 10 million users, about $66 average revenue per user. I mean, that number has gone down drastically, but it's because he's now expanding into Africa and
it's everywhere.
he's in the sticks now, right? And then there's a rocket launch business, but then there's an AI business that's connected to Grok Colossus and is trying to buy this business called Cursor. That has what shocks me, what's
It's
interesting
also the
to me.
highest burn right now.
Yeah, capex is like 7. Capex for the AI business is 7 times rocket launch. So like AI is like AI is what 7. It costs 7. Let's say
7 times
more to actually use Claude than to send to colonize Mars, right? But what's really interesting for me is what's happening with SpaceX equity issuance. It drives home my narrative of this increase in cost of capital or this mad disconnection between bond markets and the equity markets. And this is what I mean by this, right? So if you look at when US government bond yields were 0.something% to 1%, let's say post 2009 to about 2020, what companies used to do is if they needed capex, they'll issue debts and then use it for capex, or they'll issue debts and then do a share buyback, right? This was because cost of debt was cheaper than the cost of equity. But what you're seeing with OpenAI, what you're seeing rather, if you look at the CDS, which is the credit default swap rates of spreads of the likes of Oracle, the likes of SoftBank, they've just widened massively. And you're now seeing that AI guys are not issuing debt anymore, they're IPOing because they feel that the bond market is punishing or doesn't trust the duration of tech. Right, because if you look at the way bond is formed, is the best you can do is you get your money back, right, at maturity. But equity is upside limitless. So the equity markets is the risk. The equity investors seem to be willing to take a risk on tech to say, you know what, like you said, the upside is limitless.
The upside
whatever the upside might be, I'm really willing to take that bet. And OpenAI, or rather SpaceX and OpenAI IPO is sort of showing that, okay, these guys now, they know that if I want to raise money for CapEx, I'll just issue equity rather than issue a bond, because they know that the bond market knows that this thing is funny. That's how I'm seeing this SpaceX IPO.
So coming side by side, OpenAI though, I might be wrong, but OpenAI seems to have lost its way a bit. It's like, it was front leader at some point.
Yeah.
It's now looking like it's now in the middle of everybody, and
Elon seems like he hates Sam Altman.
No, it does,
and that's why I think he wants
he keeps
SpaceX
going at,
IPO to work.
Keeps going at him. But the upsides for AI starts to get clearer and clearer with each passing day. Especially with the usage of. So I don't know if it is the fact that everybody has been raving about Claude, for instance, now that if you start using Claude, it starts timing you out and says, okay.
Yeah, what's going on? What's up with that? You guys got me addicted to it, and now you're taking it back.
Guys, let's stay on subject. Let's stay on subject. We'll get to AI at some. Let's stay on subject. So let me get your views, Kemi. On this SpaceX matter.
Okay, go on.
He wants to raise some. I'm hearing he's raising, or we read wants to $80 billion or thereabout.
It was this Sam?
No, $80 billion. Probably going to be the largest in ever. I think the largest would probably Saudi Aramco, probably maybe $30 billion or thereabout. So this is $80 billion. Is it going to be successful? Is that money there?
It's Elon.
It is.
It's Elon.
If there's anybody that can pull it off,
It's him.
It's him first, I think. And if it does, it will be very interesting because this will probably be the biggest in the world that we've seen. But I think also it's very interesting because if you're seeing that people are actually willing to fund all of these dollars into the company, and you look at what the underlying is, it's not just AI, it's also now back to investors who were very tech, software, they're moving a little bit back. You're seeing a shift back to infrastructure, to telecoms, to defense in some ways, and AI at large, and so energy too. So, when you look at it from that perspective, they are looking at it, sort of it's split across sectors. It's not just backing Elon as a person, and it's not just investing directly into one company. That company actually spreads across a range of sectors. And I think the signaling is good for, African markets as well. If it's very successful.
For the Starlink side.
If it's successful, it does tell a good African story down the line too.
Because I think that, I'm just going to do a Tunji and say, trust me, bro, analysis. Starlink has 10 million subscribers. I can see it at 100 million subscribers. And that means it's coming after MTN and Airtel. In that sense.
But I know, I mean, how long, because I'm trying, in my mind, I'm saying, okay, go solid on aligning businesses, XAI, well, that's what it's called. XAI, it's fairly okay. There is SpaceX, okay. Then Starlink. So, is it like a, no, in my mind, I'm saying, is this like a, can we compare this to like a to where Amazon probably was several? Because if your valuation is almost 2 trillion, let's even say 1.5 trillion at the get go,
where from?
So it's going to be like where are you looking at?
Equity valuations are nuts, right? No. Equity valuations are nuts, and these guys know it, and that's why they valuing their business there, because they know that there's still going to be upside, and the market is, whether it's $1-2 trillion or $3 trillion, the market will still go for it.
I think that's the biggest side. Is the upside.
But my worry.
So where's the upside here? Valuation?
No, I'm just saying, just in terms of, for me, demand.
I thought you guys said they're locking this up for a year.
It's a 1 year lockup. So it's going to be a 1 year lockup.
So what does that mean?
It means that if you go in today, you can't sell for a year. You're in.
So, but is this? So it's never going to trade then. It's not going to be liquid
for 1 year.
For 1 year.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so normally 6 months is the max, and Elon has pushed the SEC to take.
And this is
why though? What's his reason?
I don't know his reason for doing it, but again, one thing I will say is, for me, valuation is an art and a science, right? I think here they're really playing with the art of it because. Fundamentally, what is the valuation based on, right? Where we see what he's doing, but it's also a bit on the high side, and it's a lot of ifs now, and we really can hope, right? But also it's that investors back people, not just businesses and business.
And if there's anybody you want to buy from, it's
exactly. So that's what's happening here. He's also playing into the profile and credibility that he's built over time, showing that I'm the one that can pick things up and flip it around. And I think that's what the game is here. It's almost a bit of a game, right? And we don't know where it will be. And the thing with valuations is, equity valuations, it could go up, it could go down. So today they're calling this price, but in a year it could completely be bust, and it could skyrocket beyond that.
Exactly. And
it will need to really justify the baselines for the numbers to keep going up.
And generally, with markets, if you're locked in for a year, by month 8, 9,
people short.
But I also
funny.
So the lockup for the general market for Elon, I thought it was for Elon and a few guys.
Okay, I don't know.
Just check now. Yeah, I don't think it's for the entire market. Because how just lock up everybody's money like that for 1 year? Yeah.
Okay, so that's
it's for Elon and some of the guys that are
early guys.
Yeah. Because
a couple of early guys.
Yeah, so typically the SEC will tell you 6 months for things like that because you got investor protection and all that.
Yeah.
So I think he then pushed for 1 year. Like, you know what? So basically saying that there's confidence. And talking about Elon, who do you guys compare him with? Carnegie, Vanderbilt? Who does he remind you of?
So he does.
Who? Tony Stark.
I think he's in the league of his own.
That's the closest. That's the closest.
Tony Stark.
That really is the closest. Yes, he's the closest.
So he's not Iron Man.
No. So I mean, it's the arrogance.
He's in the league of his own.
He's in the league of his own. Yeah, it's the arrogance. Because the closest in history you want to look at is someone like.
But Bezos is doing the same. But Bezos, I actually think Bezos. Hold on. I actually think, this is just my opinion though, I think Bezos is doing a lot more, but he's just not as hard as Elon.
No, so that's the thing. That's the thing, right? So if you flip both businesses, right? Bezos was selling you hard facts. Look, we've done 7 routes. If we open 14 routes, we did EBITDA at 14 routes.
Yeah.
If we open 7 more routes, we will increase EBITDA by. That is, Elon is telling you, imagine.
It's a dream.
If we could do this. Now that is, there's no price. There's no price. There's no price on that.
I think personally, I think Elon has been very lucky. I think he's been very lucky. Yeah. I think he's been very lucky. He's been very lucky. I think he's been very lucky because of Trump. I feel like if there was no Trump, I don't think Elon would be anywhere.
But he was. But he had been doing defense contracts before Trump.
I know, but my point is, this is someone who, before Trump, was basically the butt of a lot of investors. That's why they were shorting him. They kept shorting him, and at some point,
people love Tesla.
He was laughing.
They love
Tesla. Initially, Tesla typically missed estimates, other estimates. They had a lot of issues, right? And then Trump era basically catapulted him. So, but when you look at Bezos and what Bezos has done with e-commerce and AWS, it's just, I don't know anybody else in the history of our generation that has impacted the world more than Bezos.
So
this guy turned. He brought 24-hour delivery. Now I hear there's 30 minutes delivery that he wants to do now.
So you're talking about different kinds of founders.
Completely different.
Of course, they're different now. But they're all tech founders.
We all need a sponsor in life. So if Trump was his
bam, thank you, Jesus.
See it show up.
No doubt about it. Yes. No, everybody needs a sponsor. No doubt about it. No doubt.
So you're talking about 2 different kinds of founders. Your Bezos kind of founder is the roll your sleeve up. He's in the numbers. He's in the. But those kind of guys tend to grow you arithmetically, right? It's like 1 + 1, then +2. You can see the growth. So, like Amazon, you could see the growth, right? You know, you saw where it started from. Then you can see.
But I've also heard Elon is very hands-on. Like he sits with engineers.
No. It's not.
They all do now.
They all do. What I'm saying is,
mechanics behind
okay. So maybe the person that could have been like Elon in the past was this the Apple guy. What's his name again? Steve Jobs. You know, somebody that has the ability to dream beyond the ordinary and then follow through with it. Because it's easy to say he had a benefactor. I mean,
yeah, I think it's not fair.
In life, many people have benefactors and still didn't do squat with it. The fact that you take the benefactor's influence and then 10x it is a skill on its own.
No, you're missing my point.
Okay.
I'm not in any way trying to. Elon has been successful since the days of PayPal, so there's nobody's discussion. I'm just saying that the fact that where he is exponentially in terms of whether being the wealthiest man in the world, being the most popular person in the world today, and everything happened during Trump era. That's my point. So I don't think that I'm not saying he won't still be who he is, but he won't be at this level. Yeah, that's what I think. I'm wrong. Yeah, I feel so.
It's possible because that's the sponsor element.
Yeah.
I see.
And he was one of the ones that aligned early with Trump. But anyway,
I see.
So are you guys buying it
coming from this conversation?
I'm sorry.
I see a message on Sunday coming from this conversation.
On Sunday,
may your Trump show up for you.
Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Trump, Bezos.
You couldn't even help it.
Please.
So, still on this IPO, who are you guys going for? What are you guys? Are we
buying?
Yeah.
I'm actually SpaceX.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Bro,
really? Yeah.
This is not even.
I mean, listen, as much as I really think that it's. I'm really worried at the disconnect between the bond markets and the equity markets. Like, I'm extremely worried that the disconnect is something that we should all be trying to figure out what's going on, right? Regardless, I still think that it's a bet on Elon, and I think the market sees that. And for me, it's a bet. I'm not necessarily betting on Elon or SpaceX. I'm betting on the demand for the stock, right? Supply and demand.
I'm just betting on the possibility that something goes right.
Something goes right. Wow.
In all of these projections, if one of the projections goes right, the upsides are astronomical.
With the space,
you get everything. So look at the application of AI, for instance. I mean, so you start to think about the uses in individual cases. Now we're talking about automating industries. We're talking about automating businesses. Now, this is not replacing jobs. This is just making sure that end to end, all those disconnects are now removed. And it almost feels like, in my mind, the way I see, and I might be wrong, I feel AI could work the way electricity works. You know, the way electricity powers everything that we do, but electricity is not the thing itself that makes those things work. It's just what makes sure that they do what they do. I feel that businesses and companies in the future will run on AI in the same way electricity just powers things. So it will be what connects accounting to HR and connects it to business development and makes everything work as one single entity. So there will almost be no business or no home or no individual that runs without artificial intelligence in their ecosystem. Now, the fact that everybody in the world will be using it, that means you are running. This is now operating system.
The IBM.
You get.
It's IBM.
And so think about the fact that AI systems are billing all of us at company level, at family level, at individual level. That is astronomical across the world. So for me, the upsides are
endless.
You get. So if anything goes right, anything at all,
the entry point is already high. So you hope that at least 3 go right or 2.
At least 2, yeah.
Tesla stock.
Yes.
How's it been performing?
I actually wanted to dump at some point, especially with the BYD emergence. I might still
more of a robotic. I don't want Tesla.
Yeah. So that was why I kept it. That was why I kept it, because they now started shifting away. Exactly.
Every day, I believe more and more, incrementally that I think that we're in an AI bubble. I think
it's showing you, right?
I think we're in. It's evident. It's evident that, the use case is clear. I think the use case makes a lot of sense. I agree with Tunji's point. It's going to be integral to a lot of what we do, right? But the cost does not justify it. I mean, I'm reading a lot of reports now, and companies are beginning to say, you're looking at AI is meant to improve productivity, at some point reduce your overhead and all of that. But people are not seeing that happen.
So I'm going to use
because these things are expensive. So it's not replacing humans as much. Over time.
I'm going to use an angle to
so let me land. So my point is that I'm not saying that that we're not going to use AI, but my point is the cost will need to come down significantly to justify some of the, projections, earnings projections that they all have. And if that then happens, right, because, cost would then, value would then be impacted, because it's probably going to take a long time if they continue this way for them to hit some of their earnings projections. And then cost valuation would drop. And then, mind you, this is not like Google and Amazon or even Microsoft that were dominant, single-handedly dominant in terms of, the tech space. There is Claude, there's ChatGPT, there is AI. Let me tell you, these are all powerful guys.
But you know that's the reason why. That's the reason why it's expensive. It's that race. That race to get there first.
It doesn't make it cheaper.
But let me tell you something. I was looking at this chart and it's in my head. So I'm going to sort of give you another. I'm going to so I don't know whether I'm playing devil's advocate, right? So at some point I was trying to compare .com bubble to AI bubble, right? And I said
different, but
right.
No AI
but I started looking at number of shares outstanding during the .com bubble to number of shares outstanding now. You actually realize that, and this goes back to capex spending. Remember I said earlier that AI guys are now using equity IPOs for capex, right? So if you look at the shares outstanding during the .com bubble to now, we're actually quite low compared to .com bubble.
But these AI companies ain't listed yet. They haven't started listing yet.
Until the money for equity, right, IPOs slows down. We're not going to see a slowdown in AI because they know that they can come and raise money through IPOs.
I agree.
Right, so
easily,
that bubble, and if you use that chart, it's hard because you're projecting the charts, but the fact that we're still quite low in terms of shares outstanding now versus .com bubble means we have a couple more years before that bubble bursts, if we're in a bubble.
And before those years come through, we would have had significant breakthrough. I can't tell you what the turnaround for
adoption,
what Claude,
in this case,
adoption of Claude specifically has done for businesses. So the individual use case of
no response
is one thing, but the business use for Claude has become very astronomical. So, for instance, if you use Claude and you were one of the people that downloaded Claude on your system, you want to be careful with what you allow it do. You get, because it's invasive. It could go into documents, rewrite things. Yes, it does. It does. It rewrites code if you allow it to.
Yeah, you have to give it permission.
But that is the problem. That's not a problem. It just blows my mind that it can do that. You get that it can see an abnormality in your code, go in, rewrite it, and yo, you're welcome. You get, and you didn't have to tell it.
How does that? It blows your mind. Beyond that, valuation.
Just in simple terms, how I'm looking at it is, in the finance space, there's work that you typically need analysts to do, whether it's research, whether it's modeling. But now these days, where you needed 10 people to do something, with 3 people manning AI strongly, they can get the same amount of work done. What would have taken a week is taking a day now. So you're seeing productivity from that lens, right? And over time, the more that there's adoption, the price will definitely come down per user, right? The average price per user will definitely come down. One, it affects, to your point, you think it would affect valuation? Maybe, maybe not, because at the same time, they have a bigger base of customers, right? Multiplied by whatever revenue it is that they were earning per user. So I think over time, there will be, strong adoption. And they will deepen, their penetration, and we'll see that reflects in their numbers. It's still too early. The .com bubble was there, sure. At some point, we called fintech a bubble too. Right?
We did?
Yeah.
Probably still is, but
they're still investing.
Wait, how can you say?
So let me explain. I think a bubble is not the product or the technology or the use. That's not a bubble. A bubble is valuation.
Oh,
Yeah.
The idea.
What
So
was
if
our
you remember in
valuation? Are you overpaying
2022,
for something?
2021, fintech valuations were something.
Yeah.
But a lot of those companies saw down rounds if they didn't go underwater.
Exactly.
You know? And so that was the bubble bursting, right?
Okay.
AI might look like that. It may not be like the .com one. We don't know yet.
It might be okay.
It might be bigger because of if
might look
Elon
like
is
the
successful,
fintech
for
one, yeah,
example. You know, so I think we'll wait and see where that goes.
So here's an excerpt of a newsletter that I got. I think it was from the Information. So he says, Uber Chief Operating Officer Andrew McDonald said the ride-hailing company isn't seeing a clear increase in productivity from using AI coding services, despite their use by its engineering team. That has prompted executives to discuss how to get a handle on token consumption cost, he said. If you're not actually able to draw a direct line to how much useful features and functionality you're shipping to your users, the costs become harder to justify. He wasn't the only one. Several of them here. Pizza Hut as well.
Something like Microsoft.
Yeah, complaining.
Microsoft's cost for too
So
high.
there are a lot of articles out there now where people are now going to companies and saying, okay, you know what, this one I actually found very funny. This one was a AI tool that Pizza Hut put together to help sort of provide a bit more data insights, and then the staff were just using it to give because they were now started using it because it now provided a lot more information about customers and all that, and they're deciding who to serve and who not to serve, and then
who tips?
Exactly. I love it. Exactly. So Starbucks. So you're seeing a lot of that happen, and that's why I'm saying, I don't know, but it's what it is. Let's move on, guys. But we all use AI, don't we? You all use AI.
Absolutely.
Have you fired anybody yet so far because of AI?
No, but increasingly we're thinking about how to actually integrate it. Like, we're very pro AI in my firm, and we're thinking about how to integrate it into our processes, teach it, to write our IMs in the way that we do. And of course, there needs to be human intervention, but I think it's working out quite well for us, and we'll continue to use it. But that means, like, the lowest person in our team is an associate. We don't, and that associate is already sound, so we don't actually have analysts on our team.
Like entry level.
No. Not right now.
Oh, wow. So I mean, we've started using Claude for business. Nobody's been fired in any way.
Why are you seeing your cost go up then?
Well, not easy. We just started it, so not yet. But what I find interesting is that we're getting the likes of Robin Hood use AI agents as investment advisors. I don't know if you saw that. And that's...
There are a lot of robot advisors now.
Yeah, but this is like investment advisors actually helping retail investors structure their portfolio, tell them what to buy, what to sell, how to... And it makes me curious to what that does to the asset management industry in terms of investment advisors.
I think we shouldn't forget that AI is not always accurate, though.
Yeah,
but
people forget that.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, if you rather than have 5 portfolio managers, you can have one. Make sure the AI's work is right, and then the AI is literally managing portfolios of your other mutual funds.
Tunji?
So it's interesting.
I think I always think about AI from the perspective of staff plus one. So I will still have my staff members.
Your costs.
To increase your cost.
I'm happy to, because
so long as revenue goes up.
Exactly. I mean, as long as it improves productivity.
Don't you want? Isn't the point?
So how do you measure this though? How do you measure it?
Margin now. Your margin. So revenue goes up. You fire one person, fire 2 people.
So I'm not keen. I'm not. So we're not that big. So we're not at the point where firing is now a conversation. Right now we're trying to upskill drastically. In fact, we're looking for many roles to be able to hire. But with the small team we have, you've just added AI to make sure that at least you can at least 2x everybody's productivity to ensure that the gaps are not as obvious as they would normally be. So for me, it's been fantastic help. In fact, to be honest, I see when my team members send me AI written script, but I'm glad that we're all using it, because I would be really pissed with the level of technology available, and you are not saying it's.
So I had a friend recently, and he watches Drinks and Mics. I'm sure she'll be like, "Man, why you out me now?" But I don't care. I won't mention your name, but he knows himself, and so there's this website he's been trying to build. Which, by the way, he wants you guys on it. I'll talk to you guys about it later. And so we got some guys to do it for us, and those guys they billed us like $17,000 and all that. So eventually we didn't go with the guys, and then he now sends me, oh, he's done it. He sends it to me, and look at it. I'm like, how much did you pay the inventory? I said, no, I did it myself. What? Because this guy doesn't even know how to use WhatsApp, not talk of nobody understand what I mean. And then he said he used Claude. Like, he used Claude Unlovable. Like, he just went to Claude, do this, and he do this, I want this. He used Claude Unlovable to build I'll show you that website.
Wow. You built a website.
Yeah, a website.
I've seen a web page.
I told him, take it here. Okay, where do I host it? AWS, this is where you go to. He follows the prompt. He goes there, goes to AWS. So what else? Website. He has login, he has registration, he has every damn thing.
I've seen this, like my friend in finance, literally, he's like, oh, what do you think of this business? And he's like, I've built a web page or I have a landing page. I was like, what do you mean? When did you start coding? He said, Claude overnight.
Wow.
That's what he said. I said, did you test the security? He said, yeah, he used Claude to test the security.
But that's why you can play AI against each other.
Yeah, so like that.
AI to check.
And I checked it out and it was solid. You guys, maybe check it out. It's called Meant for Me. So check it out.
Meant for me.
Yeah. Okay. Meant for me.com.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all built to Claude.
How does that sound like a dating app?
Well, it's like the mentor for me. That's what it is.
Yeah, meant for me.
Yeah, meant for me. That's good. That's God meant for you. Meant for me.
I think she's meant for me.
No, that's a mentor.
Meant for me.
I don't know. That was what I heard. I had no.
All right, talking about minds. Come back to local. I like to do local. Please don't mix this thing.
Yeah, no.
Take it neat, okay? Without being nice.
I think you need a new glass too.
Yeah, you didn't put it.
No, don't worry. I got it.
GDP numbers, guys. GDP numbers are 3.89%. Q1 GTB, nominal GDP for the first quarter. By the way, 3.89% compared to 3.13% same period last year. It's a 10-year high, by the way, for a first quarter. Data-wise, in terms of nominal GDP, 110.8 trillion, up 17.79% from 94.1 trillion the same period last year. The fastest sector in the economy, no surprises, ICT, 11% in one quarter.
Fintech,
Shout out MTN and co.
And fintechs.
Fintechs are in financial services.
Oh, okay.
In financial services. No, Abba is in financial services.
I am not fintech. We're not fintech.
And then crude oil production below Q1 GDP.
1.5 versus 1.6, right?
But anyway, overall reading of GDP numbers, are you guys...
I think.
Are you guys impressed by any news?
I was slightly
reforms that has happened in the last 2 years?
Disappointed. I felt at least the very least it would come in at 4.1. I honestly, I don't know why I was expecting that, but I just felt some of the movement that we've seen in the last couple of months, especially Q1. Abi, Q1. I just.
But they said it's a 10-year high now.
3.1 from. So because it was.
They said it's a 10-year
high. That's the previous year.
Q1 2025.
That's yeah.
So Q1 2025 was 3.1.
3.1.
So you wanted 4.1 for Q1.
That's a tall order.
Wow.
But what's your rationale for expecting 4.1?
So look at the economic activity that happened in 3.1. And then look at the economic activity that happened 3.8.
What's the difference?
Economic activity. Basically 3.1, the year 3.1 happened, we know the chaos that was happening all around. We know that rising costs, inflation was biting, everything was really major.
This is a rebased GDP, isn't it?
When did we rebase? Last year.
No, but GDP shouldn't move significantly. Because the base
growth rate,
it shouldn't move significantly in terms. So it shouldn't change. It shouldn't change.
Number changes, but the growth rate doesn't change. Is that what you mean?
Inflation is what we changed.
We rebased
aggressive. So the GDP shouldn't change that much. We widened in base.
Yeah.
for it. So even the widening of the base, exactly, to move on. Okay, so I expected us to move to over 4, because again, my thinking is we should be doing 7% regularly to be able to even get anywhere close to having decent growth over a long period of time. So 4% isn't great. The 4% I was looking for isn't a great number, but it for me, it felt like growth.
Yeah.
It felt like, we're moving.
Our SSA brothers are doing 6, like,
I
know exactly what you mean.
So I felt disappointed about it, and I feel it's something the government should look at.
Yeah. Does anyone know what happened to oil production? I'm surprised, because it went from 1.6 to 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, it's has been out there. We haven't really been ramping up production for some months now.
But
so
it's actually going lower. Yeah, it's not steady. It's flat. Right, it's lower.
I don't know. I did hear at some point. I think I read at some point that there were lots of turnaround or whatever going on in some.
What about the person we are paying for pipeline? Is it?
I don't think it's a
evacuation issue.
I don't think so. But the point is that, I mean, despite all the reforms that we've seen in the last 2 years, Kemi, are you not worried that we're not growing fast enough?
I think for me, firstly, the real star here, ICT is great, contributing 10 or so in terms of increase, but the real star is the agriculture, right? It went from almost flat to about 3%. We haven't really seen that growth in agriculture in a while, and that really shows that a lot is happening at that level from the crop production level, and you would imagine that this is trickling down to households, farmers, low-income communities, but when you look at what's happening on the street, you see that it's not really reflective as well, right? Because people are still very hungry. And you would also see that there's an increase in agriculture, but there's an issue when you think about the transportation of goods. That's post-harvest losses are still quite high, and still allowing the cost of food to be high. So food inflation is even higher than inflation right now. And so from that lens, for me, agriculture was very interesting to see that growth. But I'm just wondering why exactly, and I think that's where the government should be looking at. Why is it not trickling down to the base of the pyramid? In terms of how people are actually living on a day-to-day level.
But what do you think happens to agri through this period of fertilizer, urea fertilizer prices through the roof because of the war? Do you think that affects, that's going to go into Q2? Because now, Q2 will feel, Q2 should feel the war now, right? So
I'm very curious about how that pans out, because I know fertilizer shortage was a big thing for farmers, especially, smallholder farmers and where there's no clear subsidy, clear government subsidy programs that are actually very proactive, i.e. this is happening, send this down to farmers in these regions. I'm a bit worried about what yields might look like. But again, on the other hand, like I said, there is opportunities for companies that are now thinking about less synthetic types of fertilizers that are helping to improve yields more. So I'm excited to see what the chaos is going to lead to in terms of innovation at that level of inputs for farmers. Even we're seeing lots of developments with soil microbes that are helping to, again, improve yields and just enhance the quality of the soils. Lots of work is ongoing there, even outside of West Africa. And a lot of this technology would be transferred over time. So there's something going on there. But on the other hand, of course, I'm worried about what yields can look like or will look like. And we're yet to see that data, but I'm curious about that too.
So again, let me the previous 3.1, that data, was Dangote refinery available at that time? Just think it through. Was it working at the time?
That's the 3.1 of last year. Yeah. Well, not at this full production levels.
So I'm trying to, because
Nigeria's Superman.
No, it's not. It's not that. It's not that. So again, just because I have worked in and around this institution, I can see production levels, economic activity. So just simple economic activity. Dangote refinery. We have the farmer industry. It has ramped up capacity a lot more because of gaps that has been left because of big pharma that left. Agriculture has really taken a turn in the last maybe 18 to 24 months. We've also seen FMCG. FMCG has really ramped up production in also that time. So I'm curious to understand why that there's so much of a gap that we couldn't have done a whole basis points. I think we should have been able to do it. I don't know what the disconnect was. And this is, of course, not asking government to be controlling MBS numbers, but I think it is an inquiry for the government to say, okay, if there was this much economic activity at this particular time and we couldn't go to 4%, what's the real hope of getting to 7 or 8%? Do you get? Yeah. Because I don't think we will see the movement we saw in that last 18 months happen. What I mean is, what the growth in economic activity that happened in the last 18 months, I don't think we're going to see that level of economic activity growth.
The jump.
Again?
That jump. I don't think we're going to see it in the next 3 years. We will see continuous growth, but it'll be inching upwards. It was a big jump. Yes.
A big jump, yeah.
It was a big jump. Yeah. So if we couldn't do 1 basis points with all of that, then there's a problem more.
So the funny thing is that I think if you, so I mean, the way our GDP is structured, I think there are like 5 or 6 key sectors that determine whether things move. Yeah, and there are crop production, trade, real estate. I think there is ICT, which is the technology sector as well. I think there's construction. So if those sectors, and financial services is just somewhere hanging in there. So these are the sectors that are like 60% or thereabout of our GDP composition. So if they are not moving, if they're not growing at above 4%, then you're likely not going to see sort of.
So telco was a steady growth.
So telco was 10%, but it's small. I think it's about
it's a steady growth. It's a steady growth
GDP of the entire GDP composition. So when you look at the likes of trade, crop production, livestock, real estate, if they are not growing at some kind of
the same speed,
a high single digit, then it's just going to drag the entire sector. So that's where I think we're celebrating agriculture at 3.something% or thereabout, exactly, and that's like 20.
But it contributes significantly
to, but it was 1% or so before it was
to GDP, which is the problem. And that takes me back to that discussion we had some time ago, where we said that if you look at if it's the telcos that are growing fast, so. Is this symptomatic of the sort of suffering that the consumers are going through? Because consumers, if you look at that GDP definition, government, investors plus investment plus consumers plus exports. Investors are doing well, government is doing well, but consumers are not.
Consumers are still suffering.
Yeah, so
telco growth is in with the times. We're in an era where people cannot do without data.
Yeah.
They absolutely cannot do without data. Everybody and their mothers are on the internet doing one thing or the other.
Yeah, so but does that aid productivity though?
No, it might not. But what I'm saying is that in terms of the growth of the telcos, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
I feel that they're experiencing and enjoying the recalibration of people's attention at this particular time, where people have recalibrated from movies, indoors films, to now watching shorts, content, and creating it themselves, pushing out things. So that recalibration of the attention focus from people is favoring the telcos at this particular time in terms of data usage and all of that. I think it will cap out at some point, but the growth what I mean by cap out is that the growth is now like, it's almost like we found a new sector.
Think about it. My younger sisters are 16. They've probably only gone into a bank once, for example. Everything is on their phone.
So that's
completely changing. Completely changing.
Yeah.
So that's my point.
I think your point around consumers suffering, and I also hear you there. And this is where we need to think about, I guess, Nigeria government at large, but how we're developing all of the contributors to GDP, because ICT growth is nice, but they're not the largest employer of labor, right?
Exactly.
And so it really trickles down to some of those essential business sectors. How are they, manufacturing, infrastructure, where there's large employment of people, giving people improved livelihoods, creating jobs, creating employment, and all of that. I think that's what really trickles down, that allows the consumer to start benefiting from what investors are benefiting from with MTN's growth, for example, right? So that's the part that government really needs to figure out. How do we create more opportunities in these other sectors that contribute significantly to the GDP that are not growing as fast as the ICT sector?
I also think that, it's also this way because the likes of MTN, Airtel, Globalcom, and a lot of all these consumer-facing companies sell things that are within the price point of a lot of consumers. And so... no, I'm not saying they shouldn't. That's their business model. Okay. In fact, I'm saying that it's not their fault.
Tunji.
Yeah, I'm saying it's not their fault.
I was like, what's a great answer?
No, it's not your fault. No, yeah, I'm saying that. Yeah, so I'm just trying to explain why it's happening this way, right? So to your point, maybe policy-wise, we're not seeing a lot of work from government in terms of getting other sectors of the economy that tend to drive jobs or push GDP growth rate to move. But that's also because those sectors now price things, their products are beyond the price point of a lot of Nigerians. So it's difficult for them to grow at this sort of pace that the likes of MTN that are... Because, for example, a 1,000 naira data or 1,500 naira data from MTN 5 years ago probably lasts better than today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but the consumers still see it as 1.5. As 200 naira data. 200 naira data. So you're probably spending more, but you're probably getting less in terms of... So you're just topping up. So it's almost like a adrenaline or whatever, something that's very addictive.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But that's it. But then, are you then, if you look at the entire value chain of production, or value chain of what they do, the question is, does that really engineer the kind of growth that you're looking for? So, compared to say maybe agriculture or maybe manufacturing or things like that. I mean, it's just me.
Yeah, and I've always been and I guess we've always been massive conduits for manufacturing, right? Because I think that's something that is a trick that I think we're missing.
But government policy kills it, so there's nothing you can do.
Exactly, that trick comes from government policy,
doesn't allow
credits, favorable credits environments, because these guys manufacturing it can be capital heavy. Right, so then with that conversation with manufacturing, it goes into credits and how we talk about
credit, land ownership, taxes, incentives, infrastructure.
But you see, this is also where climate becomes an interesting wave, because when people
bring it in, carbon credits, because manufacturing.
Not necessarily carbon credits. That's one element. But when people think about climate, they think about it as one vertical, or they think energy. It's actually very quickly becoming the operating system for manufacturing. Think about green manufacturing, right? Look at a manufacturing company, for example. Just take anyone. What is the largest contributor to their OPEX, right? Their operating expenses. Energy costs, right? Whether they're combining it with solar, whether they're on the grid, whether it's CNG that is supporting, it's still energy that is usually the largest cost. And so that's where climate is coming in. For example, lots of companies are going green. They're thinking about beyond solar, right? Beyond the usuals that we're hearing about, we're familiar with. How can I convert some of my waste to energy? You see people are now, there's a company called Sultry. They've made investments in a biodigester, and that's essentially helping to convert their waste to energy and powering some parts of their factory. That makes sense. So that level of innovation, you start seeing climate is not just one vertical, right? This is when you think about it as manufacturing, and it's cutting across, right? We talked about it on agri and everything, but and also, I think it creates an opportunity when you think about Nigeria at large, and even Africa. Let's take Africa. When we think of our demographics, we're the most favored. When you think about the fact that we're coming from
age-wise,
very low installed legacy base, it's not like a coal factory in Germany trying to retrofit now. You know,
we can start afresh.
We are starting. We're just building a lot of our sectors. We have the opportunity to integrate a lot of what is happening in the climate space in terms of innovation into our daily operations to allow us to operate efficiently. And where your business qualifies, you're able to unlock carbon credits, which is hard FX coming straight to your P&L. Whether it's helping to subsidize a product or improve your margins, if you qualify for it, you qualify for it. So it's the way that we need to start thinking about manufacturing and just some of the operations that are happening there. How do we help some of these companies to, you know, sort of hedge the earnings that they're making and also to control their cost on the energy front by integrating climate into their businesses?
But, you know, I've started. I'm trying to connect this right, because you talk about our young population, but I'm starting to wonder whether our young population. This young population growth, this young population story that we have has some sort of negative connotation to it, in the sense that we have a young population, but population is young but is not able to work, right?
How do you mean it's not able to work?
So in terms of, I'll give you an example. There's a family, a father and a mother, right? And young kids. The father and mother are the only ones working. The kids are not working. So all the burden relies on the father and mother for money. So savings. It's harder for mom and dad to save, because every penny mom and dad make goes into spending on the kids, right? But if the kids are at the age where they can work, they can now contribute to the household. Right. So does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Right. So I feel like I'm starting to wonder whether our young population, in a sense, is a burden to.
Be careful what you're saying.
I'm trying to word it properly, just because I'm just thinking of it in that sense, in terms of how that affects our national savings, for example. Maybe that affects.
No. I think
I get your point.
So I've been trying not to say this. But I think the NBS isn't doing a great job capturing economic activity in Nigeria.
I don't think it's not. There's nothing like you're afraid not to. People, I think we've said it several times. They did when they rebased last year. But for example, if you look at the size of real estate, the size of construction industry, you think it probably is not representative of the larger economy. There are debates here and there about that. That's for sure. But Arnold's point is that. Your point essentially is because we have a largely youthful population, average age 17. So for that reason, and because a lot of them are not working, not being able to create good jobs for them, and some are also below the working age population. So your point is that also creates a burden on the rest. So that can affect national income as well, because the ability to earn is less. So that's
the reason why I was going somewhere. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. There's never been a time in Nigeria's history where opportunities outside regular paid employment have been available to young people like it is today.
What opportunities are available to 17-year-olds?
No, you're missing the point.
He's thinking about content.
He's talking about if the average age of your economy is 17, then that means you have a lot more people less than 17 years.
Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
Right? At least, if not a lot more, most of them are less than 17. And these are people that can't work.
So it's more of a bug than a
So they can't work. They're not going to work. So the only thing is that for future, yes, they are. For consuming, they're good. So you're probably always going to be a consumption economy. So his point is that also affects national savings.
Exactly.
I never thought of it that way, but
it affects the consumer in that sense, right? Because we're just because nobody's earning enough to spend.
But some would also argue with you that, well, there's a lot of child labor here, which is bad, but that's why there are a lot of people younger than 17 that are working. But they're working. But seriously, honestly, globally, it might not acceptable globally, but for these same families you're saying, they are the ones who are probably fending.
I'm allowed to say
no, wait,
because I'm going back to the GDP.
Let's go back to the GDP numbers.
Because I'm linking this to GDP.
Yes, let's go back to the GDP.
But I don't know much about child labor.
The number of children, the families that have larger number of children. This is not politically correct, but they are more likely to engage their children in child labor than the families with the smaller number of children.
Yes.
Right? So those children are probably running the shop, going out to do this.
They're the ones. They're the ones.
It's about the number of the children or just the income bucket?
The income,
income bucket. So the
even if it's two people, but you guys are within the same less than $1.
So that is still the labor. Now, if those children did not exist, they will hire, right?
They can afford.
Most of the time, they need to hire those people.
I don't believe this, but
I need to look away every time this happens because my eyes shall not see no evil. Sorry, see no evil.
Sorry.
thank you.
And the thing is this, so part of the things that I think I was even looking at recently was even just the standardization or the modernization of businesses these days. So you have your kid. So you've seen it on social media. You've probably seen it a few times. You just scroll past it. A 15-year-old who now helps the dad run the shop in wherever, maybe in Onitsha or something. She's now bringing the dad's shop onto social media and telling people, "Oh, come and patronize my dad's shop, via this, that." Now, this is something the dad's staff would have done if the dads had, but the dad now has her, right, or him as the child. Now this person is working for the organization, if you can call it an organization, but this is part of now the income mechanism of the company or the household as it is, because it's a mom and pop shop. I believe that those low income families keep together. And they've built an economic ecosystem around themselves with the number of children they have. I don't think it is a burden. I don't think you're
missing their point. What they are trying to say is that what we are trying to say is that,
I almost want to say it's both of you, but
is that
I started this rabbit hole, so I need to take us back to where it's going.
Okay, so very quickly, just so right. So what basically trying to say is you're probably right, but the point is that because that bottom layer, that 17 and below, their income is so small, naturally, their income is small, it would always drag down national income. I don't understand what I mean. Because they're so small. So you're not going to pay in fact, most of these 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds that hawk, don't get paid.
How
their parents,
of course. Okay, so
they don't get paid now. So
national income, national savings.
So my thinking was even slightly different. So wait, how does this now affect GDP?
Yes, now because GDP is government plus consumption and all that.
Yeah, but you're a stats guy now,
Yeah, so it's all income now. So they are not. So they are not.
For me, betting on Nigeria's GDP is betting on that average age going up to like
no. Wait.
That's when
you are not talking about. You're not talking about
the components of the GDP.
You're talking about the quality of the. Right? You're talking about the quality of the income per person. I am saying the aggregate income of Nigeria as an economy, and the aggregate economic activity of Nigeria as an economy was far better in Q1 than it was 12 months before Q1, right?
So we've gone past that argument.
Yeah, because
we all agree we didn't do well in Q1.
So let me bring us back. Where I was going is if we look at India, they've done something right in that they've created something like a knowledge economy there, right? China has done something right with industries, and they're killing it on a global scale. I was saying that Africa, with our untapped natural resources, our young population, our unique advantages, our large biomass and everything, actually positions us to create what can be a globally competitive advantage for Africa. And climate is the sector that is positioned to help to unlock that. So that was the point that I don't know how we got into this rabbit hole, but very, very insightful.
The thing is, with what she's saying, right? the opportunities are there.
But like,
and
And the age is a cycle. It might be the average age, but the children in those ages today, the data you're capturing today, that child is also growing.
And the child is better suited to understand your concepts of climate change than her dad is. Who is in the village
Depends, but
or in the local areas.
You'll be surprised.
No,
Those are the ones that have seen their yields go down over time. Something is going wrong.
Yeah.
So is climate change real? Okay, that's another conversation.
Wow.
No, but your guy doesn't think it's real. Trump doesn't think it's real.
We're segueing into that.
Trump doesn't think it's real.
We're segueing into that. But let's just end this. Let's just end the GDP conversation. So, what then? Where does the growth come from? Can we survive? Not that we're dead, but survive
on 3.8. No,
4%, 4% GDP growth with all those reforms. Would you say that these reforms are these reforms, like, can we still beat our chest with these reforms if it's delivering sub 5% GDP growth rate?
I'm saying I think honestly we did better than 3.8.
Bro. That's your opinion. I don't need your opinion.
One thing I'll say is we came from a very low position,
base. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And
low base of what?
In terms of economic activities, in terms of our macros, we've been focused on stabilization over the last few years, months now. And we're starting to see the result of that stabilization, whether it's from the unification of currency and related. I think the next phase would be,
apart from the unification of the currency or stabilization of the currency, what else?
Well,
why are you trying to lower that?
I said apart from that, what else?
It's a major thing because it's major.
Hold on now. Apart from the fact that
we
unified this currently 2 years ago, so it's a 2-year story already.
But it was
so you have you want a new toy.
What else? We have a normalization of a monetary policy rating committee that seemed to follow the way of the economics that we know. And I think that's
what I'm saying. Apart from the monetary policy side,
the next phase, which we are lagging on and should have kickstarted, is what is going to drive growth, right? That's where the focus actually.
That's what I'm saying.
And so we need to get
and
we are doing our individual parts, but I think that's where government needs to get their head in, because at the end of it, individuals, private, investors can do what they're doing by investing in our band friends. But government policies really affect what's happening at that level. You can have something really good going in a fintech business today, and a policy comes out tomorrow and wipes out the existence of that business.
Is it possible for a country to grow based on private and company innovation, and while the government is just dilly-dallying around, the private sector actually pulls it back together and then just pushes it?
Yes.
The fiscal can't figure itself out.
Yes, but there has to be a combined effort for that catalytic growth.
So actually,
South Korea.
Oh yeah, how South Korea was all private.
South Korea, I mean.
At some point, the private guys will wonder why are we doing all this for the government to come and tax us?
Again, for us to grow fast, the 7 sectors need to grow. Trade, crop production, real estate, telecoms, livestock. 5 of them alone make up more than half, about 60% of our GDP.
Yeah.
So if these guys are not growing at double digits, you're going to say, again, trade, crop production, real estate, telecoms, livestock. The only sector that is hitting double digits is telecoms, and telecoms is like 7% of GDP contribution, 7%. Between trade, crop production, and real estate is 50%.
Why did financial services go down in that?
This is from time in terms of our composition. You now have the next 5: construction at 4%, financial services at 3%, crude at 3%, food and beverage at 3%, public admin at 3%. That's the composition of our GDP. So if you don't understand this composition, then you won't understand why we're going at 3 or 4%. So you're never going to see growth go beyond 5% if you don't grow trade, crop production, real estate, telecoms, and livestock. And livestock and crop production is 20%. So trade and livestock and agro needs to grow.
Which is why I said.
So what is the trade that needs to
go?
Go?
Sit down with MBS, because the truth about it is that I'm trying not to say too many things, but honestly, if you you measure an informal economy by formal measures. It's like asking a fish to do what a dog does.
But that trade is 20%. Trade is, I mean, isn't that what
trade is that local trade or international
all
trade?
trade,
That's international
local, all trade in general. That's what we do mostly.
No,
This
that's it.
He's arguing with MBS.
international trade is export now. This is not export. This is
local.
trade. I mean, MBS are your people, so I'm surprised you don't believe it's trade.
I believe MBS. I believe MBS.
And that's why if you go and check when we had a contraction, it was because we had that was when they closed the borders.
Yeah.
That's when we had a contraction. So whenever there's a contraction in trade, automatically Nigeria
Are you
contracts.
saying that we sold less products or we didn't double the amount of products that were sold
So
in that
volumes
time?
are not moving.
Volumes are moving.
Volumes are not moving.
Margins are lower, but volumes have
Volumes
increased.
is GDP. GDP is productivity. Volumes matter for GDP.
We have, right?
How do you know? Where you measure it? Are you MBS? Do you have
We have all the reports of companies at least that came
They
before
are
us.
not moving volumes. We track companies for a living at Diametric. So we see prices go up,
Yeah.
but we're not seeing volumes are moving, but single digits.
I think just thinking about it practically now, a lot of people are giving up things that they naturally would buy or have access to because the prices have tripled.
And GDP is productivity. So that's the thing. So yes, you're seeing revenues go up a lot, but that's price.
Yeah.
That's adjustment. Because of inflation. But volumes are not
So
moving.
two companies, like let's just statistically, two companies, Dangote refinery,
Dangote is not trade.
is not
Refining. It's refining. In the GDP is refining.
It doesn't sell it.
It's refining. No, that's not.
Okay, so-
Everybody sells here now, but trade is different.
Everybody sells.
I think it's this thing you pour in your whiskey. Like.
Emzo.
Emzo is healthcare. Healthcare.
Is that not? So you said trade now.
No, trade is not this one. These are all
we're talking
manufacturing
about
companies.
volumes. No, I said let's go back to the
defined.
volumes of the trade.
Yes,
From
even
company
those ones, they're
results.
not growing.
So we're saying company results, volume of trade. From those companies, I'm calling out companies that trade.
And I'm telling you,
because
the
you said
volumes are not moving.
trade is local, international. I agree with you. I'm saying companies that I know that have increased sales. Dangote. Maybe he's not the one selling it himself, but trade from that refinery has increased significantly, right?
Yeah, but if you look at if you look at sorry, button. If you go and look at Dangote refinery data, particularly with fuel, volumes have even dropped.
Oh, really?
Our daily average volume
Between that
Yes, now, because subsidy
Q1
is
and
off.
this last Q1.
Wait now.
actually,
What he's done, he's just replaced what existed.
Before.
Before we used to import petroleum products, 40 million barrels, 40 million liters
So our
a day or
fuel
whatever.
consumption is
It's just replaced it and it's even low. Check ChatGPT. I mean, you can do that.
People are
Or
not
check
driving
Gemini.
as much.
Let's not now go to
Yeah, of
the
course.
GDP. It is importation.
Of course.
You know, it is import minus export now.
Yes.
So this one, it is local production. It's not import minus
That's what I'm saying. So this is production numbers.
removed
It's production numbers you will
yeah,
see
it's
under
like-
refining
Yeah.
in the
People are still importing now.
Yeah,
Did they stop importing?
But the point is that production. So we're not consuming. You're missing the point. We're not consuming more petrol today than we were last year. That's the point.
Yeah.
And
There
for
are no more
GDP
cars on the
matters.
road
Yes.
than
Yeah, it matters.
You're not producing. You're not consuming more. Price might be higher, but you're not consuming more.
Yeah.
That's it. And then people
Maybe
are moving
more
into
less
renewables. So let's move into
high
some more
prices.
interesting subject. Renewables. Climate change. I beg your pardon.
Climate change. Is it
Climate
real?
change.
Is
Yes.
it real?
Yeah, we have naysayers here who don't believe in climate change. Tunji and all. They don't seem to be.
So I don't know. So I don't know. Man.
Tunji
So
by
like,
default,
I
because
don't know
he's
what
a
to
Trump
say.
supporter.
I have no idea.
I know
I have no idea. I
so
believe
climate change. So
I do.
How are we going too far? Your rainy season.
yeah, but it hasn't always been the same.
No.
Oh, I just assume Lagos is sinking because the flood is getting higher and higher.
Think
So is it a
about-
climate
think
thing
about-
or-
Several years ago, though, 30 or 40 years ago, I remember seeing it. I mean, 30 years ago, so it's not like I'm that old. 30 years ago, so I remember seeing the newspaper.
That.
Those newspapers of those days that Lagos was going to sink in by the year
I
2000.
think
But Lagos
I've
is
seen
sinking,
something
yeah,
like that.
it's sinking
because of
Yeah.
Babichu overflow and it covered the
But there's supposed to be, but I think
Motors and few others ones. So how we know?
Lagos sinking.
there's I don't know, but there's I saw something a few years ago, a list of cities that were sinking. Lagos is there.
Where is sinking?
But where? Because I'm feeling what would have.
Where is sinking?
I don't know now, but apparently we're not doing anything.
Who?
No, but I think
I can't.
the reason I asked you is rainy season, for example, but even Hamatan, you just took in November,
so
December.
are the polar ice caps melting? Is that what it is?
I love that I saw an article because anybody can write an article.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Angle.
So let's talk climate change.
Climate change.
What's the business like in Nigeria today? Is
So
there
I
a
think
business there?
There is. There is a business, but I
definitely
think there are
is.
opportunities. That's really because it's quite nascent. When we think about climate, historically, it's always been solar. You know, when people think about renewable energy and what they think is climate change, but I'm starting to see that it's much bigger than that, right? And it's cutting across a range of sectors. So, of course, when we look at e-mobility, and maybe not just random sectors, but more like essential businesses, essential goods and services, we're seeing it cut across those sectors. E-mobility, we're seeing it happen with the electric
E-mobility,
vehicle.
okay.
Yeah, when you think of e-mobilities, the two-wheelers, the three-wheelers, you're starting to see a shift, right? Even in the market, Lagos State has some EVs on the road in terms of buses.
Seen that,
FMCG, some of them are testing them out in terms of the haulage and logistics part of their businesses, the people who fulfill for them. You know, they're starting to test out some of these electric trucks, right? We're also seeing that Nigeria particularly is in a transitionary phase, right? So what that means is we're not automatically going to go from diesel to electric.
Immediately, yeah.
That's where you're seeing CNG trucks on the road because you know it's gas that you have. You're the 7th largest producer, and you might as well use it while we figure out the infrastructure to support, you know, what we're seeing on the electric front. So that's what's happening on the e-mobility side, and I think that will continue to grow. The challenge there is there are lots of two-wheelers in the market, and so
Two-wheelers, like Okadas.
well, two-wheelers that are electric two-wheelers, but there are lots of companies that are now doing those, like buying from China, branding and deploying it onto the roads. And so you're seeing a shift to people trying to create the infrastructure for those two-wheelers, right? The electric two-wheelers in terms of the charging stations
and replacing batteries and things like that.
And then I guess innovation is coming from the people who have the ability for their batteries to either, you know, you can do a swap or they're becoming very creative about how they're going about it. I think there might be interesting, you know, pockets of, I would say, opportunities to invest in those types of businesses. But for me, where I personally see the market going is in terms of the trucks. Because I do, because I think that that's a no-brainer for lots of businesses. We're talking again
in terms
about
of cost, yeah.
So it's a business that need to distribute their products.
Exactly, businesses
EV trucks.
So there are even businesses that, you know, when you think about companies that essentially just have these assets under them and what they do is fulfillment, right? Logistics companies, right? A lot of them are moving into testing out those trucks. So I think that there's going to be an opportunity for that to really scale in the coming months. And we saw Dangote bought 4,000 CNG trucks. But then Dangote will probably soon buy 4,000 EV trucks, and then the game. No, I'm saying soon. And then suddenly the market moves very quickly.
His personal car seems to be EV hybrid.
Oh, is it? I don't know. But what I'm saying here is he's a good signal for the market, because when we saw that move, we saw lots of companies now getting
really
comfortable around moving to CNG trucks, and using that to test out their operations. And, you know, I think we'll see that shift to EV too once he makes the move. So that's the first sector. The second will be agriculture and soils, right? Lots of opportunities happening there. We've talked a bit about fertilizer, but also I think even on the tech side, we're starting to see just people they're reading weather and understanding it and able to use that technology through USSD to reach low-income farmers and advise them water today, plant tomorrow, you know, harvest in next week, things like that, to help to improve their yield and to plan.
Makes sense.
On the infrastructure of agriculture as well, we're seeing, you know, cold storage systems as well. That's really growing. There's lots of opportunities there because, again, one thing we're seeing here in this part of the world is very, very, I think 60% is the number. 60-70% of what we harvest is lost before they can even figure out where they're going to store it. How's the farmer going to do that? So there's investment going into that space that we expect, you know, would be able to
yield,
really catalyze growth. All of that that comes under what we consider to be climate businesses. Now, even moving to the energy side, solar is another overflogged sector, but the opportunity is endless. There's still a very huge energy access gap. The deficit is very ridiculous, and I think is biggest in Africa, right? And so that gap needs to be closed one way or the other. But just from an investment perspective, because there's a lot of capital going into the space, and there's also a lot of providers, and there's lots of middlemen just buying from China, branding, selling.
You're not really sure what you're buying on top of your house.
Everyone's selling something that looks like a lithium battery. And, I personally feel like it's starting to feel like a race to the bottom. Like the returns there may look like debt, debt-like returns rather than the equity upside, because what's the end game with that? And some of the bigger ones who started early to haven't also helped to tell a good story, but maybe the C&I part of it. More focused on businesses and SMEs and installing solar for those types of companies might actually be where the opportunity lies, as opposed to like the mini grids in the village. But again, we need to fill the gap. So what you see is, with the climate space, the kind of capital that, the sector is commanding and needs to attract when you think about building the capital stack of a business. It's more than equity funding, because equity alone may be too expensive. Debt will not be appropriate because some of those businesses may not look bankable today. And so that's where the idea of blended finance is really coming up. Yeah, because it's a sector that, because it's growing, you don't know what the externalities are going to look like in 5 years. So your point on Elon, it can be limitless, or
it can be zero.
Somebody needs to come in, whether it's at the first loss level, to basically tell a commercial investor that I guarantee your money 1x before I get my money out.
Back,
or some kind of guarantee to just give comfort to the kind of project.
And we have some of those in the market, right?
We do. The number of them. The NSI is playing a role in this, but also I think the Development Bank of Nigeria, InfraCredit with the guarantees, all of them are starting to take very strong climate positions and supporting the work that equity investors are doing in the space. And I think that also when we think about sectors broadly, there is an opportunity when we think of the future of foods. It will be opportunistic, but it's what we call alternative proteins. Not livestock, right? So things like,
it tastes like beef, but
insects,
it's not beef.
like black soldier flies. Not to eat in some cases, but this one makes a use case for feedstock, for poultry and all of that. So there is. I
like my chicken.
There's I know, I know. But I actually saw there's this company in Ghana. I don't remember their name now. These worms, those wood worms that they eat in. Maybe you're part of Nigeria. You said you're from Rivers.
Arnold doesn't know about those big ones.
Those things. Apparently, they're grinding it and they're using it to make biscuits, bars. Just different kinds of attractive.
So all these are climate businesses.
They would fall under the bucket. So when people think climate, they need to just think broadly, right?
So let me ask you a question, right? So I tend to always see opportunities where there are problems. They tend to always emanate. So we had power problem and then solar. So everybody now does solar. So what is the problem that climate businesses are looking to sort of fix?
They want to ensure that you have somewhere to live.
Wow.
Our children live.
No, I love them. Those ones also how to be to say esoteric now.
But it sounds like that until it's real.
Again. People are living inside water, ghetto with mosquitoes. They're living.
It sounds like that until one day they actually submerge.
When that day comes, they'll manage. That's what they always say. So
we're trying
beyond that, though, what then? Like, what else do? So beyond that, what else? So does it solve a food problem? Does it solve a clothing problem? Does it stop Tunji from wearing some of all these expensive
when
designers
you think of climate as well, circularity plays a big role, right? So when you think of circularity, it's like
how everything is interconnected.
How are we? So, for example, I like to give examples so that you can relate to it. There's a company called Tuture. I saw them, I think, about a month ago pitching on a stage. What they're doing is, all those denims that people wear. Like, think about your jeans. When you throw it away, what happens to it?
That's what my GP
it can never deteriorate. It's just going to be stuck in one sand and start to form a heap and lots of pollution and all of that. And so they're taking denims. They don't get to, of course, that level, but they're taking used denims and recycling them into bags, notepads, and people are buying.
Cool.
From London to Nigeria, people are buying. So that level of being able to recycle, we talked about the company that is using rice husk and bagasse, to essentially convert that into fertilizer and sell that. All of that
but
is
essentially creating scalable products that are mass, like
it's fertilizer,
MTN kind of stuff.
It is now.
I don't think so.
It's fertilizer mass.
It is from an input perspective. Do you know how much fertilizer? We're talking about agriculture. How do we grow agriculture?
Let me say what I mean. When was the last time you bought fertilizer?
Sorry?
When was the last time you bought fertilizer?
So let's not go far.
Exactly.
No.
Have you bought
Fertilizer is an implied cost into every food you buy.
Yeah, so that's my
point. My point is that fertilizers are bought by farmers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about.
So think of clean cooking, right?
Okay.
Still falls under the end.
Okay, sorry.
Essentially, you're displacing charcoal by thinking about innovative solutions to use clean stoves, right? So whether it's ethanol of some sort, which is an off product of sugarcane process, or you're essentially using. There's a company that uses again.
How are you going to cook with that?
Sugarcane waste, and converting that and being able to gasify it.
Oh wow!
No, they're cooking.
So cool.
I'm saying that
So
these
are
companies
there
have rich
gas
homes.
cookers that they're getting
there's
homes?
Stoves. There's stoves that are being distributed into homes.
I bought a cylinder of gas.
You use a gas in your house.
At
You use a
20K
gas
or so
stove.
today.
You use a gas. No,
you wait. You went to buy it.
No,
It doesn't matter who went to buy, but
the point
today, I know that
So,
we bought a cylinder of gas at 20K.
you're probably not the target
12.5K.
customer
I
for
went
that.
to buy that used to be like 7K before.
You're not the target customer for that because a lot of these products are targeting like rural and
Mass market.
like really, really deep.
And they actually buy these things.
They are buying it.
They're not
Even in
using charcoal.
Nigeria, there's a company called Hinata Energy.
Called what?
Hinata Energy. They're distributing stoves. They're targeting students, university that need to cook because they cannot. Kerosene is out of it. When last do you even see kerosene in the market, right? Gas is very expensive, but these other methodologies and
people are buying these things. I want to know, like, are you guys cooking with any of these alternatives to gas? And
I personally,
I really want to know.
I personally
and
am not,
heater.
But people are. Lots of people are.
I want to say it.
And we're seeing.
Nice to see
Is there
that.
a difference? Does it burn slower? Does
the rice come out smoky and all that stuff?
It will come. It
I'm
will
just saying in terms of usage.
it would
the way
come
they-
food moment.
jollof rice with
And I
the-
think every day we're seeing innovation in that space.
Okay.
What we've seen now is that for example, ethanol blended with actually turning waste into pellets is helping to burn even faster than just using ethanol. So even over time, the companies that are operating in this space are steadily innovating.
Yeah.
And we're talking about companies that have reached 2 million homes, 300,000 homes, depending on where they're operating.
2 million homes.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yes. Cocoa reached 2 million homes before things went south for the company. And so I don't know if you
Why did it go south? What's the
Again-
economics behind that then?
So their model was particularly different. And wouldn't say too much, but essentially with the cocoa model, it was much dependent on carbon credits. Right. What they were using the carbon credits to subsidize the stores for the low income households.
So they're
that
using
are
carbon credits as
distributing
collateral to get liquidity?
in a sense,
In a sense,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Explain
so
that, please.
the moment
So they'll sell the carbon credits, and because of that income to businesses like
Like British Airways, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So
The likes.
with
So
that income,
that particular model for the clean cooking companies, the COSIA market is particular, which is the airlines, they're particularly interested in buying those types of
Carbon credits, yeah.
those types of credits. And so those will typically be the target market beyond some of those that operate in the voluntary space. Their model essentially did not hold water because their letter of authorization was not honored. And so that meant that, essentially the
everything
business
just
went bust because the model was dependent on stoves, right? For the clean cooking business. But you're seeing models improve on the back of that, where as a standalone, they're selling their pallets as fuel. It's actually fuel, right?
Nice.
Because that's what's powering the stoves. And so
yeah.
that as a business, may be able to attract a 60% margin or so.
Yeah.
And so the stove that then unlocks credits is just a layer on in terms of additional revenue, which you can use. So you need to just, it's nascent, like
revenues.
I said, lots is happening in the sector across, or rather in the space across a large number of sectors. I think it's interesting to see where, a lot of these companies will land, but we are taking early bets, right, in a number of these companies.
So you're Pan-African and you're not just Nigerian?
No, we do across Africa.
Across Africa.
So what's investing in these sort of sectors like? So how do you? So is it like maybe investing in Awaba or investing in?
So Awaba doesn't have a climate.
No. I'm not talking about climate. I'm talking about
so if
like
it starts buying
the
carbon
model.
credits, would it then turn into a climate change?
No.
For you?
No. That's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, so when you're investing in these companies, right? Do you also? So is it the same kind of numbers that we look at if we're investing in ABC, like revenues,
it's the same. You look
profit?
at it as so. You look at it as, the way you think about the valuation is also revenue multiples, EBITDA multiples if they're very early, this year.
So what are the North Star metrics then? What sort of metrics do you look at?
It depends on the sector and it depends on, the company that you're investing in. Each one will have whatever their KPI is, whether it's number of stoves distributed in terms of household reach, how much ton of carbon were you able to avoid or remove from the atmosphere, how many, in terms of, we have a gender lens in terms of how we also invest. So how many women are in employment or in the value chain of what you've been able to achieve or distribute. And so for every business is, of course, very different. Each one of them have their metrics in terms of fertilizers. How many bags of fertilizer have you sold? What is the, in terms of your feedstock, what does that look like, and how's that growing? There's something that is important in calculating the carbon credits with, on the technical side, which is called, they call it the COX. So that COX number as well, what is it and how is it improving over time based on the kind of feedstock you're using, and all of that. A lot goes into it, but it depends on your sector, and it's almost like investing in any other sector. If
any one of them doing $100 million revenue?
Not yet.
Potentially.
But we'll get there. Not yet,
when?
But we'll get there soon. Because again, nascent, right? A lot of them are early in their journey.
Yes, so that's what.
But with the electric vehicle business, with the EV businesses, I think they'll get there much faster. Because they've already started.
So I have two EV businesses, local Nigerian companies doing EV.
Max changed the entire model.
I don't know if you know Max.
I know Max. That's the bags.
Max definitely ahead of the curve locally, and
what was ahead of the curve? What is Max?
They're leading. That's what it means. Like in terms of the number of vehicles that they have on the road.
So do they sell vehicles?
So they
finance. They lease. So you pay for it over time, over an 18 to 24 months period, and the collection could be daily or weekly or monthly.
So what vehicles are they leasing out? BYD vehicles or
two-wheelers. So Max Gigmile is doing the same. Is now evolving into that. I know there's a company in Ghana. I just forgotten the name. They were the company I was saying at the initial conversation that they've now been approved to issue carbon credits. They're in Ghana, they're a delivery service, their bikes are EV, and they basically deliver. In Lagos here, I did notice delivery companies that were using bicycles initially. There was a company called G-Share that used to do bicycles. Then they in fact, I used to speak with the CEO a lot. He was the first person that explained this battery swapping thing, and that was very early. This was maybe like 3 years or 4 years ago. I was talking about battery swapping and everything, that his delivery guys and all of that. So I knew that the industry was evolving at that particular time. I don't know if they're taking it to the next level, but people like Max have really been able to.
There's also
they've been able to attract the right level of capital. If they weren't doing something right, they wouldn't. The level of investors, they have institutional investors on their capital.
But these guys have been existing for years, though. 10 years. At what point do they mature?
So, they are somewhat mature, right? They've just raised, at least last I know,
if
they've
you're
raised their
constantly
Series
raising, are
B.
you mature?
No.
Yes.
It depends on
Tesla not going to mature.
The point is you need capital to grow. It doesn't mean that you're not profitable, right? You need more capital to grow. That's a lot of these businesses are focused on how are they going to own and capitalize the market, and a lot of that money will not happen. A lot of that growth will not come from your internally generated revenue or your profitability at first. Over time, yes. So that's why they need to keep raising.
So do they have unicorn potentials? Are they likely going to be lifestyle businesses? Are they going to exit?
No, not lifestyle business. I think you will see. So one of the things we're seeing in the market is there's a lot of pressure for exits from investors, right? And so what that means is translating directly to these businesses, right? And so, we're seeing that whether it's on the secondary level, which means that, okay, for example, we're talking about Max. Let's say I invested in Series A or seed. Right, someone coming in Series B with a large ticket size will take me out, right? So that creates an exit for me, and that speaks to what's happening in the exit market. So to your point around, are they going to be able to exit? Yes, at different levels, depending on the entry points of these investors, there is activity happening on that front. The broad play for these types of companies, I think it's again growing sectors. Is it going to be a consolidation? I think we'll wait and see. Is it going to be a listing? I don't know. In terms
so
we'll wait and see. A lot of these sectors are still growing, still very early, but they're showing very, very positive signals, and they're attracting the right kind of investors.
So that was going to be my question, right? So outside of EV, so yes, on the EV side, like you guys rightly said, there are quite a few businesses and companies that are actually pushing EV. I'm seeing some ride-hailing guys, but outside of EV and in the spirits of climate change and VC, are there any other sectors that are interesting enough? Because in my mind, when I hear climate change, it feels like a West problem, whereas it feels like an African problem in my mind. Yes, because, carbon credits, carbon emissions, climate change, polarized caps, whatever it is, and the West are aggressive about it, and we are very silent about it. And in my mind, we warrant the silence because I can't see, or let me ask, where are the other sectors outside of EVs and combining with VC, and then, I don't know what your lifespan is for investments, 5-10 years, and then you exit. What are like you talked about those guys doing pallets? Is it a 10-year investment, and then in 10 years they will list? In 10 years, are we going to be buying a company that's replaced charcoal with pallets? So it's, I don't know if you understand, so that's why my climate change is not an African thing.
No. So because you're thinking about, so climate change is the problem, but the companies are real companies with real assets, right? Yeah. Some of them have physical assets. They're not even SaaS businesses. And so think about it like software type of businesses. And so just think about it as the next, so the company that's doing fertilizer will have a manufacturing plant, just like somebody else that's manufacturing an FMCG product. That means that, they can get there, they can get equity on the back of their asset, they can grow, they have the ability to create jobs, they have a product that they're selling in the market. I don't want you to think about it as this separate thing that's happening. It's just what's happening right next to you. It's how you think about the
So is this
slant? This innovation that is happening within the sector. It's the innovation that is happening within the sector.
Blocks you out of a vast array of other opportunities, and then you kind of focus on this.
No, that's what I'm trying to tell you. That when people think about climate, they just think either energy.
At the end of the day, it's still bikes, right? It's just that it is bikes that is, driven by
fuel.
But it's still bikes. It's still
so for me, that's the only one that I can.
It's still a delivery guy.
So I can see
that is still going to charge you everything.
She said about fertilizer, which is farming.
Okay, fertilizer,
talking about solar. There's so many.
There is so many of them.
It's a slant.
So, but you don't think
if I look deep enough, I will see.
You see climate change.
You don't think energy security.
You get some more funny. Open up some
energy security and energy independence. So as Africans, it should really be talking about climate
focus. We should or shouldn't?
Should we?
Yes.
Why not?
When is it going to industrialize?
So as a seasoned kayaker, I'm seeing that the Lagos Creek is actually quite dirty.
Like what the
right? I'm seeing people. Almost like
as a seasoned what
kayaker, not kayaking.
Wait, Tunji.
No, but we need to.
Isn't that that you were here that Arnold just was talking about buying a boat just the other day. Now it's seasoned kayaker. Wow.
we need to clean our
I love
waterways.
it for
right?
you.
Yeah, thank you. So I do see the need to change habits. Dre, I see the need to change habits.
As a seasoned character.
I'm trying to just,
yeah,
I think what I
cut
want
you
to leave you all with is don't think about it as this fluffy thing that sounds very nice and fancy.
esoteric.
It's as real as it gets. And, it's really starting to look more like infrastructure the more I look at it, but with equity-like returns, not debt-like returns. So
Yes.
So I think that's
very
for
important.
me.
Yeah, but for me, the only issue is that I feel like until we see a company that achieves the sort of level of impact that the likes of maybe InterSwitch, Flutterwave, Paystack, all those other guys have hit, I don't think that a lot of people will understand how important
But we have seen it.
That's what I'm
like
saying.
that, right?
In Nigeria is what I'm saying.
No, okay, maybe not in
Nigeria. I'm not
Nigeria.
talking about globally there are. I'm talking about in Nigeria.
Again, nascent
For example, we
sector
don't
and
have
we'll get there. Nascent sector and we get the InterSwitch business starts.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
overnight.
So my point is that I think that until we see one, people would really dance. That's how things happen.
One,
Because
that's how
if it wasn't for the
things
explosion of the likes of Paystack, you won't see all these fintech
All
companies
these
that are
fintech,
coming
yeah,
along,
exactly.
right, tagging along now. Say, hey, is it happening? So until that starts to happen, and people start to see that there is a climate change company that is sponsoring.
Yeah.
big
So, but
I think
do
you'll see that because our mantra, and this thing is bold on our website, is that we're building climate unicorns. And so we're being very selective about how we're
About the
picking
ones.
them, but we also know that it's not a walk in the park.
Yeah.
It's not going to be one of, we're not investors that, because we're quite early, but we do, for early stage, our tickets are a bit large, somewhere
What's like
between
your ticket size?
750 and 1.3, 1.5 for first ticket.
Yeah, give me money.
And this is USD, right?
Yes, and this is and this is early, right? When we say we're early stage, because usually when you hear early, it's it's less than 500K usually. And so what I'm saying is what I'm saying is that one, I've established that climate is not just this bubble;
Yeah.
it's across a range of sectors.
Yeah.
Two, the quantum of capital that we look to deploy as a first ticket,
First check,
is
yeah.
very important because there is a gap in the market somewhere. We're seeing that
There's a
gap
massive
somewhere
gap.
between that pre-seed, and we do pre-seed too. We could do if it's green and if it does make a lot of sense for our mandate, right? But there's a gap somewhere between that 100K, 200K tickets that companies are getting and the 2 million, 5 million that they need to raise. Investors are ready to do 2.5, but there's nobody in between. And not many people in between taking those very risky positions to catalyze the growth. And so we can't, and we don't just give you the money and then go to bed. We almost co-build with you. We help you to get to, if you have a 5-year plan to achieve a particular strategic objective, we see how we can work with you to achieve that in maybe even 3 years with our network, our influence, our ability to unlock carbon credits if your business qualifies, among a few other modalities, right? And so those things that we're doing, we think will really drive what the shapers of climate space will be in the long term. But it's not a 5-year play, right? Some of them might be, for example, one of the clean cooking companies that we're invested in, if the LOAs come in, then they're off to the races, essentially, because, that's a nearly $102 million backed contract. And so what that means is that, they're able to really unlock capital to drive that growth. That then answers your question of $100 million company, but it's not going to get there without the level of work, manpower, and resources that they need.
But is there offtake here? Is there a market here for this?
There is. That's what I'm telling you. They are users.
Yeah.
You use gas to cook. That's why you don't know the reality of what's happening. Charcoal is very unhealthy, and then these companies are displacing that.
And you spend how much on the
something that
gas?
feels like
20K,
gas.
bro.
Yeah.
Spending
And for them, it's like we're giving you the stove. All you have to do is buy your pallets, which is comparing, and they've compared and almost matched that in some cases, or even slightly lower than the cost of charcoal.
Oh, wow.
So they're displacing charcoal for low income.
What is the?
Do you have the data for charcoal? I'm sure the charcoal users, but that's just me being curious.
We can.
Yeah,
Well, I don't
I'm
have
being
data
curious.
on
Yeah, of
hand,
course.
but
Yeah, no, it's just interesting to see
What is
the
the
potential displacement or replacement.
Yeah, I can share.
And I can imagine
some
across. I
data,
can imagine. I mean, Tunji, this is something
And I think this is one of the
This is
things.
that.
I think this is the thing that's most important. a company like Gigmal, Max are not specifically climate change businesses.
What are they then?
They are mobility businesses. They are getting your goods from point A to point B. They deliver goods. They provide bikes to riders who get goods from here to there. Now, their models have now started to flip to the point where they are now taking their normal rides, which were powered by petrol, and now changing it to
Electric,
or renewables and swapping batteries and everything. So the truth about it is that the business then that does $100 million will not be called, will most likely not be called an e-business or a climate change business. It will just be you that has seen the dynamics of the business, that this business is largely tilted towards this area because it's a normal business. It just does what the business does.
That's why I was saying that it has to be a consumer-facing business, and that's why I was interested in
some cases
in cooking, because if there's one thing Nigerians do is eat, right? So
Africans.
we eat. So and our food is not the type of food that you cook in 5 minutes.
So the company that sells those stoves, for instance, right? It's a stove selling.
They those stoves that they used to use kerosene. They're also replacing all those.
What about lamps? Like kerosene lamps and candles and all that stuff.
I think that's where you're seeing the solar guys play. A lot of these, there are products that are helping to aid this kind of. Copper has moved into phones, I think. Last I checked.
Okay.
But there are a lot of solar providers that are focused on these very low income communities. How do we charge your phone? How do we create light that can last for 6 to 8 hours? Things like that. So those things have now replaced that lantern. But I wanted to clear something about Max in particular in terms of where they're operating. They're not just a mobility business now. They're a fintech business. They're also a climate business, and the fintech element for them is that they've been able to look at the customer base that they have, which is drivers, and think about what kind of value-added services can I give or add on to what I'm already offering in terms of leasing a bike to you or a three-wheeler to you. And so whether it's insurance, whether it's giving them an identity, whether it's vehicle maintenance, those things are offered and then baked into what your daily price is. So spread over time in a way that you don't feel it on a, as a driver that is living in, somewhere deep inside Ogun State and you're living on maybe a few dollars or less a day.
Okay.
So it's the fact that they're able to play that role in terms of create that level of impact, still make money, still make margins, and still help the environment that is helping those types of companies to grow at a faster rate and attract the right kind of capital.
Okay.
All right, guys, it's almost 2 hours. You guys didn't know that.
This is how it happens.
So please, when you then meet people who talk about the fact that the show is long, explain to them what you just read. Because I saw someone who met me at I was having dinner with my kids at some restaurant. I was like, "Hi, I am Otuba's friend." I was like, everybody in the world is Otuba's friend. I was like, but the show is too long. I'm like, sorry, it just happened.
Anyway, it's long for a reason. I mean, we don't expect that you watch the entire 2 hours straight. You can watch it in bits and bits. I know a lot of people who watch it like
playing in your background.
Yeah, so when you're doing stuff and all that, that's why you can catch us on Spotify.
Saturday morning workout.
You can listen to it on Spotify. You can watch it, download it and watch it on flight and long flight, whatever. I mean, several reasons that you can watch. Yeah. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. By the way, Baraka de Salah to all our Muslim, Muslim friends who are watching as well. Appreciate you guys, and of course, we're gonna be back next week definitely. But before then, there is Nairametrics Capital Market Awards coming up on the 5th of June. Exclusive, invites only. So you guys, so we're
I'm worried,
of course,
because I'm
giving awards to Capital Market enthusiasts. The Drinks and Mike will be there for sure. That's for sure. They don't need invites, including all our past, including all. Tunji doesn't check his email. Including all our past
awardees.
No. Like guests on Drinks and Mikes as well.
Oh, okay.
All invites extended as well. well. Capital Market Awards. It'll be fun at the
Thank
city.
you.
Yes.
Because you said past, I have to just include myself.
You're in it. 5th of June. Of course, thanks, to our partners on Drinks and Mics, Mandilas, Lead Drop, and of course Swan.
By the way, the last one was really great. The first one, Abi. The first one was really great.
It
was really great. If you didn't turn up, there was all the fun, the pageantry, everything. There was also a lot of whiskey right around the table, so it was really a fun night. I really enjoyed it.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, so thank you so much for being on the show.
For having me.
Buy, sell, or hold for her.
Buy, huge buy, strong buy.
See, all our guests are buys. We don't bring anyhow guests. I really would want to have a one
change, and
I really want to have a one-on-one.
I like the fact that
I want to have a one-on-one on the coffee table. We just talk climate change because Tunji and Arnold were really slow in the roll today. So let's just give you full climate change.
Understand it. So we have
full climate change discussion. Because there's so
climate change is
much
that we need to know. Like I said, for me, it's a Western problem. Right, it's just
Western problem.
Yeah, the floods here in Lagos is sinking. We need to figure out infrastructure. In my mind, once we figure out
hidden climate change with floods are sinking Lagos.
no, but it's part of it. It's part of it. But in my mind, it's not climate change; it's infrastructure.
It's part of it, yeah.
Right. If we fix our infrastructure, we don't need to care about climate change. That's how I've always seen climate change.
So, but the floods in Lagos, is it climate change that's causing it, or is it the fact that they're dredging everywhere?
Is it
gutters that are just blocked?
Two different things.
The floods in Lagos.
Article that said Lagos was sinking many years ago, that would be linked to climate change. The floods would be our infrastructure, the drainage on the road not being
right, and all of that. Climate change.
Yeah, so I kind of think I see climate change as more as an opportunity in Nigeria than as a problem.
But if the polar ice caps are melting, then the water levels are rising.
See my guys.
The flood is not coming from that. When we have flood, it's coming from
see what 3 hours now. They are going to start having conversations.
We have hot weather here. That's climate change. Hot weather.
Hot weather. The polar ice caps are melting now.
Hot weather, but that's an opportunity. That means solar.
It means solar works very well in this part of the world.
Yes, it does. And I don't. I mean, I think solar is getting cheaper. I have a 20 kVA deal, for example, 12 million.
But our water levels rising across. I'm sure we have like archipelago of different islands somewhere
20
around
kVA,
Nigeria. Right, our water levels rising in those small islands as well.
I don't have the answer to that question.
Sorry, I'm just getting too much.
Yeah.
Sorry?
You're reading too much. Are you ChatGPTing lately?
No.
Too much, right?
Explain.
AI has errors, by the way.
ChatGPT has errors.
AI has errors.
Yeah, that's what you say.
No, it does.
Yeah.
In fact, I've heard
very part about using ChatGPT. When you tell me that, are you sure? He said, oh. That thing pisses me off. Like, you're right.
It's like you might be right. Actually, you're right.
Right.
My confidence level just crashes.
Just close it and start the
So these days, when I'm trying to
play games with Claude.
Yeah.
This is what Chat said. What do you think? And that one feels a bit more challenge. Here is where you can improve. I see your point.
No, that's the way to work it. So you open 2 of them. You get the results, you put it on this one and say, you don't even tell it, Claude said, you just take all the points, put it here, and I'm like, oh, okay, I've noticed that, let me fix this. You take it back, is it fine now? No, there's still this. You bring it back here, and then it says, and then you find the perfect
not to
document.
go back to the AI gist, but I kind of feel like we will be more, I think AI will be more useful for productivity than for fact checking and search. Maybe it will improve as time goes on, but I think that the AI that will be useful is the AI that can come and help you fix your Excel sheets or help you code one thing, one thing or the other.
Help desk.
But if it's fact checking and all that, you gotta be very careful because the thing can throw up a lot of very wrong information.
And I always ask it for references when it gives you stats. like, give me the reference.
Where did you get this
so
from?
I'm not going to read it by myself. I'm like, okay, right. And sometimes it cannot give you a reference. It's like I made an estimate based
on this.
You have to be very careful.
It's actually very worrying.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of Drinks and Mics. Of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, do subscribe because that's how you can get this, and that's how this channel continues to grow. Next week is going to be another interesting episode of Drinks and Mics as we approach the end of this season. Of course, the end of the season comes with a live audience edition of Drinks and Mics. So those of you who have been a part of the Drinks and Mics family, you get an opportunity to be with us live as we record. And I mean, the reason why we go for those who have asked me, why do you guys stop? Well, we have to go on break because Tunji and Arnold like to go on their holidays. They don't mess with their summer holidays. I'm sticking around. I'm going to be around always, but
Are you around in the summer?
No, he usually is. No. He usually is around during the summer and Christmas, but he travels every other
Sporadically.
time. Yeah.
I mean,
so it almost makes. I didn't know. I didn't know.
Something in Abuja. I think you also.
This has been Drinks and Mics brought to you by Naija. Until we do this again next time, do have a good week ahead. Bye. They want to out me.